And this year's theme is Raised to Life. It's from the song that is by that name, Raised to Life. And it's a fantastic song. Maybe we can play that at the end, Tom, when we get all done. We're going to talk about this year's schedule. For those of you who have been involved before, it's not a lot of changes. There's a few time changes that I want to point out.
And the first one is about praying right now.
Oh, thank you so much. I am so sorry. I'd leave it to the pastor to remind me to pray. Speaking of which, would you?
Father in heaven, we thank you for this day today. Thank you for those who've gathered together tonight, listening to you, oh God.
Amen.
And here to serve. You are the head of Team Mission. May we be your body and do as you would have us to do. Lead us and guide us, protect us, give us strength, love. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you, Pastor Kennan. Sunday night, you'll note up there, and I know it's small, one of the reasons I wanted you to move up front because there's a lot on the screen so you can see it, but the check-in time has changed as in the location. The location is here this year at 5. First time we've ever been that early. But because we have so much to cover and because it's been so tight through the years, we opted to move it up to 5 o'clock. I do ask you, if you are bringing participants, try not to bring them early, and I'll explain why later, and that will make sense, but try to bring them at 5 o'clock. Also, we are going to have this door locked because it is not the regular door anymore. We're going to try to get the kids used to going in. The new front door over there will be all set up to pick up their luggage and to do all that stuff as they come through the check-in. They come in here, it's going to mess everything up, so we will have this door locked. Okay? As far as the rest of the evening, it's pretty much the same. We go through orientation, have a little fun. The junior staff does a skit, what not to do at Teen Mission. We laugh, and then we have worship time. And then we will usually have a snack, and then we'll go over to Bethany. That is where the kids are sleeping. No snack. Okay. We'll go over to Bethany. No. Okay. We'll go over to Bethany where the kids are sleeping. We'll set up their room the way it usually is. That's nothing unchanged there. On Monday and Tuesday, it's pretty much the same. Note, again, that Tuesday is solo day. Solo is where our kids that are 5th grade, they've finished the 5th grade and up, can come for one day to get a taste of Teen Mission. So if they're 18 or 16 or whatever, they can still come, but they have to at least finish the 5th grade for them to try one day. They'll come at breakfast, they'll have breakfast, they'll experience the whole day, spend the night, they'll have breakfast the next morning, and then their guardians will come and pick them up from there. That's that day, that's solo day. Then on Wednesday, it's the only thing that's unusual is a little bit of time change, which is pretty typical for Wednesday, except now Wednesday is praise. That's the talent contest. So those of you who are in youth ministry, try to get those kids to be thinking about something they can bring for talent. That's always a lot of fun. Thursday is reward day. This year we're going to the beach. So if you have, there's a good idea, if you have any beach gear that you can let us loan for the week, that would be great. However, please, please, please get your name on it. Do not trust my memory. I will not remember, I don't matter how much I love you, what you gave me at the beginning of the week. So make sure if you want it back, you have your name on it. Yes, sir.
Family heads or junior leaders, you've got to try to remember this. We have 2 sites that I think are 2 canopies so they can sit over the stalls. Just remember to bring those back Wednesday night because they're going to need them Thursday every Reward Day.
Okay. All right, we're just going to go over the leadership real quick. I'm Cherie. I've already introduced myself. If I say your name, will you stand up, please? Site and Skilled Staff Director, Brian Burton. Advisor and Director for Legal Behavioral Issues, Kenan Smith. Food Coordinator, Charity Randolph. Treasurer Michelle Litke, Nurse Medications Mary Randolph and Kim Voss. Randolph? I don't even know where I got Randolph at, except that Charity Randolph. Mary Radcliffe. You know, I think that's the second year I've done that. Last year I made you a Voss, didn't I? I think I did. It's always Mary. Yes, you're always Mary. That's good. Mary Radcliffe and Kim Voss. Community Day Director Mike Fagans. Day Camp Director Nicole Schultz. Music Director Miriam Rust. And Games Director Heather Hensler. Thank you guys. You may sit down. So if you need to identify them, hopefully I didn't go through them too quickly. Now we're going to talk about family teams. This year we're calling them teams because that's essentially what they are. The head of those teams are Dylan Schultz, Haley Dick, which I spelled like my granddaughter's name and still the correct spelling, I'm sorry. Emmett, how do I say Emmett's last name? Boer. Boer, thank you. And Russell Radcliffe. Now, those are the heads of those. Is Dylan here tonight? No, Saturday. Dylan is our oldest, and as far as not oldest, but the most experienced, and so is Russell. So each of them will do a wonderful job. Then we have assistant family heads. Those are Sarah Burton, J.T. Fagans, and Jenna Rule. And then the junior staff, you can see up there, we have a group of those. Those of you who have not done that before, generally what we are working at is developing leadership in each of our groups. Hopefully one day the junior staff will continue to move up to assistant family heads and then eventually move up to family heads. That is our leadership goal for each of our kids, that they learn to take the lead not only physically and mentally, but also spiritually, that they're able to help the kids and deal with the kids. All right, is Miss Jody Burton here tonight? She is not? She'll be here anytime. All right, we'll get started here, and I'll try to slow down a little bit. Jody usually tells us about this. I believe she went on a mission trip with you, Tammy, one year, and they came up with this, and I thought it was a wonderful idea that we have instituted for several years. You have each of the members of the families have a responsibility for the week. The work director is the family head, so he oversees the site. But then one of the kids, or two of the kids, will be given each of these different goals. You have a safety inspector, a progress reporter, a quartermaster, make sure they get all the tools, a devotion leader. This person prompts people to talk in family groups and tries to prompt interaction between the group and the person we're helping. So it's not just we're coming to help you and we're out of here. We actually develop a relationship. Health monitors, that's the person that makes sure they're wearing their sunscreen and they're drinking their Gatorade and they're wearing their correct shoes, all those things like that. Okay? And finally, we're going to bring up oh, no, you did not want to speak. Excuse me. We're going to talk about buildings and vehicles. The buildings we've mentioned earlier. This building will, as we usually do, will house worship. And then the food will be held at the Knights of Columbus, as we have done the last 2 years. So we'll go walk over there for the food at dinner time. And this will be the worship area. It's also the area for rest area to come in and get some nice and cool air between that and dinner. And then Bethany will be what we call home site, and they have mattresses and their beds and everything set up there, and it's kind of a more restful place. The vehicles, we're going to have Steve talk about that. If you are one of the great people that have volunteered your vehicle, thank you so much. I appreciate it. And we're going to talk to the kids about taking care of your vehicle so that it is returned to you in the very good shape that you gave it to us. And then we're going to bring up Nicole Schultz. Nicole is our day camp director. We started this last year as she gets ready to come up here. What we found out, it was a bunch of our young adults had young kids, and they couldn't do a lot of the projects because of the young kids. So Nicole came up with this wonderful idea to offer day camp to our little ones so the adults can work.
It was all my idea. All right, so when the youth get ready to ship out in the morning and they all leave, the adults check in their babies, everyone that's not old enough to be in Teen Mission, a teen, with us, and we have daycare. So we play outside and we play inside and we do a craft and we have lunch and we have lots and lots and lots of snacks. Last year we ended up having 4 snacks a day because when they're running all day long, they eat all day long. I've got 2 to 3 adults with me that week, all week, and then at the beginning of the week when everyone gets here and signs in, there will be a brightly colored poster board for them to sign up for daycare if they want to volunteer for that, and then I'll pick a couple out of each family per day, depending on our needs those days. So I'll be hitting up the family heads and working with Brian a little bit. Depending on what sites you need more people or less people. I don't want to pull people away from you if you need more people on a site. So then at dinner, just before dinner, parents will pick up their kids and then their parents for a little while until the evening worship. And this year for evening worship, we have asked each church to come up with a group of people to watch the kids for worship so that us daycare people don't totally get burnt out. So each night, like it rotates that each church has a food night, each church has a kids night, and they have approximately 4 people that are going to come watch the kids for worship so that the parents that are family heads and on the worship team and all of that stuff can actually be in the service and not having to chase around their kids. And the kids will have a lesson. We're going to learn about the armor of God this week, so I'm very excited about that. If you are helping with an evening night or you're in charge of someone and you need your lesson, I have those with me, so just come see me after.
We interrupt this regularly scheduled presentation to ask you that we have one opening on Friday night. If anyone is just wanting so much to come and to sit with our children on Friday night, we have one and only one opening on that night. We now resume our regularly scheduled presentation.
And he's going to talk to us about Community Day. He came up with this idea several years ago. It's been a big hit. He's going to tell us all about it. Ready? Yes.
Good evening, everybody. Friday will be our Community Day, and this is the day we reach out to the community. And we'll have different stations set up. The biggest part of the day is the Food Finders truck coming in. Last year, I believe we passed out food. Almost said sold. We passed out food over to 150 people. We have a prayer tent where people go get prayers. We'll have a lot of kids game going on. We have an obstacle course. And then that day, too, we're going to be feeding anybody and everybody who wants food. This year, we've added, it's really cool, we're going to have a tickets for people. If they come, they could go swimming at the pool park, at the community pool there in town. So if they get their food, they take it back, and they want to go swimming, that's going to be another option for the people. We also have an ice cone shaved ice. I'm not in charge of that one. It sounds like 2 words, shaved ice. It's been a tough day. I try to learn. Okay. And we'll also have an obstacle course. And what we will do is have each family in charge of different parts, cooking the hot dogs, serving the food, kids' games, the obstacle course, etc. One of the things that we are really doing, and another part of this, and I skipped it, is the clothing giveaway. We're asking our youth, we love JT to donate a T-shirt, but the majority of the people who come to the Community Day doesn't have JT's body. And so we're asking them, go into your parents' closets, your grandparents' closets, your little sister. We really need baby clothes or adult clothes. And that's one of the things that we're adding. Towards the end of the community day, then we're going to be sending kids out, teams out for Revive Indiana, going to town, praying for people, etc. And that's part of that. All right. Any questions about community day? Thanks.
Yes, sir. A couple things on that. One of the big things you can do is get the word out. We can't help people if they don't know there's free food. So please, please, please get the word out. If you can donate items, we'll be accepting those on Sunday night. We'll begin sorting through those. Also, if you have some school supplies you would like to donate, that would be a great thing also to bring, that some of these families will have difficulty buying school supplies for their kids. So that's also something you might be able to bring if you want to donate. Yes, ma'am. Anything that you think it would be difficult for a parent to, buy. For instance, somebody could go and buy 10 of the pencil bags. Just something like that so that people could pick up one for their kids. Pardon? Okay. All right, now into the section that if you've been here before, you go, yada, yada, yada. I've heard this every year. And those, I'm sorry, but we have to go through it for insurance reasons. The rest of you may be hearing it for the first time, but we're going to go through a few things. On health information, our nurse, RN nurse, is Mary, that lady here, and she's on duty full-time. And then Kim back there is the medication manager. She makes sure that all kids get their medicine on time when they're supposed to have it. And one of the reasons that we confiscate medicines at the beginning of the week, unless they're emergent medicines, it's too easy for a child to pick up someone else's medicine. So all the medicines are confiscated, and then they're doled out as the prescription says. So those two will be in charge of that. One of the big things we face difficulty with Teen Mission is getting the kids and adults to wear sunscreen. We actually had a young girl, she did use sunscreen, but she didn't, I don't think, the first time, and then she didn't reapply, and she ended up having to go home. She got sun poisoning. It's like sunscreen, reapply, and our family heads are nags about it. And so if you are out on the site, I ask you, I beg you to be a very good example of wearing sunscreen, even if you don't wear it ever. But you wear it for the kids, so because they're watching you. So sunscreen. Each of the families will give it 2 different bottles. I tried some natural stuff last year, and I found out the real pale folks didn't get along real well with that. So we've got 2 different kinds for the kids to pick through. Some of the things that we need to make sure you watch out for. I'm honestly not very good at picking these out in nature, but if someone is even the slightest bit thinking it might be, take no chances, all right? Most of the kids, we ask them to wear gloves, but that doesn't mean that can't get up on their arms or anything like that. As I say every year, some of this, people think, well, they've just got poison ivy. But poison ivy is like anything else. It can be very serious for some people, in fact, even deadly. I know that most of us just get a really bad rash and we get really uncomfortable and it's just awful, but some people are extremely allergic. So make sure you take that serious. This new flower that everybody's talking about on Facebook, the wild parsnip, is some serious bad stuff. The pictures I've seen are really awful. So we have some specific things that I want to go over with you immediately. If you see that a teenager or yourself has picked this up before they even begin to react, wash them down with soap and water, preferably something like Dawn or some dish detergent that will literally take that out. and then begin scrubbing under the nails as well. Apply wet compresses, calamine lotion. In the meantime, you need to call Mary immediately. This stuff is some serious stuff. It really causes major blistering in some people, and they've actually ended up being hospitalized with it. So if you think that they've done it, we need to take precaution and make sure. If they're showing any kind of serious reaction, and we'll talk about that, anything, don't hesitate. Call 911 and then call us, and we'll talk to the parents, and we'll go from there. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I always think it looks a little bit like, those of you who are gardening people, it looks a little bit like Queen Anne's lace, but I don't believe it is the same. It is something different, but it looks a lot like Queen Anne's lace. Pardon? Yes. Yes, that is the proper color. The blistering can be immense and very quick, so the reaction is fairly quick. So we need to get moving on that one. Since it's fairly new to our area, most of us haven't dealt with it. Yes, it is come into this area. Yeah. One of the other things that we faced, and it looks like it's going to be a nice week. That's wonderful. I hope it is. But please, 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 people can still get heat exhaustion. Some people don't sweat very well. They're more prone to it. Some kids are, they're doing a lot of work. They haven't drank enough water or Gatorade, and they can get a heat exhaustion. You need to be aware of the symptoms. Heat exhaustion is the first thing they get. If they're left untreated, they will go into heat stroke. Heat stroke is very lethal. And so we want to get it at the beginning. So any minor sign, and some of the things are moist, clammy skin, pupils are dilated, they have a normal or subnormal temperature, but a lot of times they're a little nauseated. They just don't feel right. They feel kind of yucky, as they will often say. That moves into warm, flushed skin. They feel fainty, dizzy, weakness, headache. Headache is a big thing, that one of the first symptoms you often see. Rapid heartbeat. And this can go on for days. So what can happen is on Monday, they've gotten a little hot. They're not too bad. They're going all right. We drank a little extra water that night. And so the nurses go, okay, family head, watch that person. Make sure they don't get too hot today. So they're watching them. And on day 2, they still don't act like they feel very good. And then that night, they really don't feel very good. So this can actually kind of develop over days. Once we get any symptoms, we immediately go, okay, we're going to watch this person and maybe give them an indoor job if we need to. Okay. One of the things that you can do if you are on the site, I try to make sure that everyone knows this so that someone can remember it. You know how it is. I used to be a paramedic many years ago. I once went to a scene. I could not get one person to tell me where the patient was. I do not lie. It was a football game, and they were all so upset, no one would tell me where the patient was. Okay? So our brain kind of shuts down. So if everybody knows it, maybe one of us will kind of remember what to do. You're going to lay them down. You're going to apply cold compresses, the shoulders, the temples, underneath the arms, and right here on the femoral arteries. If you can get any of those places, that will cool the blood supply. Put a fan on them, elevate their feet, and get them to drink. Often they're nauseated. If they're too nauseated to drink, then we've really got a serious problem. All right, so then you need to move on to the next step, which we will talk about in a minute. Allergies. Be very cautious. Allergies, for some reason, have really stepped up. There are a lot more people with more serious allergies than they used to. I don't remember ever hearing anybody react severely to poison ivy years ago, and now they do. The peanut thing that we have to be very careful with. Regular nuts, shellfish, which we probably won't be running into at Teen Mission, but there's all kinds of things that we have to be careful of, and cross-contamination. So number one, if you're sending a participant or you're in a family group and they say they have an allergy and they haven't told us, then you need to let us know. What most people do not realize is they tell me that, oh, I got a bee sting and my hand kind of swelled up. And I'm like, okay, what do you mean your hand swelled up? Well, you know, my hand swelled from like here to here. Okay, that's a problem. Because every time you have an allergic reaction, it gets worse. So if you act really, really, really bad to bees the first time, imagine how badly you're going to react the second time, and it might even kill you the third time. Now, we are talking worst case scenarios. We have never had these things happen, but we have to be prepared because you never know. So, if the allergy seems kind of bad and they start to tell you, well, the last time, you know, I had nuts, my throat kind of itched, and you know, and the light bulb go off in your head and say, okay, this person might not survive the next allergic reaction. We need to be aware that they have that reaction, okay? Some of the things that you want to look for is breathing trouble, swelling, things like that. I always like this picture. I show it every year because as an asthmatic, it's one of the things you see when somebody's having trouble breathing. They extend the throat, trying to get air in here. If you see someone with their throat extended and out here, they're having trouble breathing. If this is sucking in, you need to call 911. They're having trouble, really trouble breathing. If breathing is an issue, if a fall is an issue, we'll talk about that. Imagine worst case scenario, we'll react to that and then move away from that if they're fine. One other thing before we go on to safety that I didn't mention here and has kind of hit home in my family, if you know our history, is that Lyme disease is a very growing thing in our area. My daughter had it severely. Most of you don't know me, and I also have it. But one of the things you might not know is when my daughter found out that she had it, I began surveying how many people had Lyme disease in Jasper County alone. And only the people that would give me their name was over 49 people in Jasper County. And then I've learned about some others recently. So, if someone gets a tick, even though I don't have a slide for this, the best thing you can do is get a tissue. We don't have things, and we don't have actual removers. And you're going to slowly grab the tick, slowly pull it out very, very, very slowly. Then take that tick and put it in something, wrap it in something, and keep the tick. We can actually test the tick. Give it to the parents can send out and make sure the tick was not infected with Lyme disease. So keep the tick and keep an eye on where that spot is, and then the parent needs to know immediately. Okay? It's just a growing condition we have to be careful of. All right, safety. We do not let anybody but senior hires deal with power tools, and that's only after great instruction, under the auspices of a skilled staff member. All junior kids, all kids that have not had any experience with power tools are not allowed to use them. So make sure you know that. If you're on the site, hand them a hammer, not a rotary saw. Yes, sir.
Any questions, just give me a call. You'll get on the site, give me a call. We had one gentleman, at one time he was like 13, but he had worked with somebody, he knew how to work a saw just as well as I did. I'll say, I would say yes.
The rarities, yeah.
But that's been one exception out of, 9 years. So anyway, but if you have any questions on that, just give me a shout or text.
Brian does a wonderful job of looking through the sites. He's a fantastic coordinator, but he can't see behind walls, okay? So in case we find any surprises, we have you looking out for things. I like this picture. You see on the left-hand side, you just see a little discoloration. but that's what it looked like on the inside. So if you see black mold, you get a surprise, you don't know it's coming, you move a piece of furniture, and there's that little kind of cloudy thing. We're going, oh, stop. Right now, everybody leave the room and let Brian, we would call Brian and have him check it out. Okay? Okay, let's talk about a protocol for emergencies. Any fall over 5 feet or fall with major injury to the head or chest, difficulty breathing, severe bleeding, disorientation, open fracture. Call 911 immediately. Make sure you know your address. Family heads, junior staff, if you hope to be leadership, you need to know your address too. Know your address so that if you call 911 and they say, and where are you, you can tell them where you are, right? Now, as far as disorientation, some of the things I saw in the ambulance were people that asking what happened, and then 3 minutes later they ask you what happened, and then 3 minutes later they ask you what happened. That's disorientation, okay? Anything that's a little foggy, they don't remember what happened. Let's be safe. I'll truck them over to the ER if I need to, let them do a test and make sure they're all right, but let's assume worst case scenario. Okay, non-emergent health issues and relationship or legal issues, you're going to call Kenan over here. Okay, we're going to talk about that in detail. If it's a minor family issue, you're in a family group, try to resolve it. We're trusting you with leadership. Use it. Try to resolve the issue with calmness and grace and goodness and truth, just like the scripture says. If that does not work, then you will need to call us. One of us will then call a ministry head and said, got a little problem. I'm going to use you, Alec. I've got a little problem with Alec, and he won't listen, and he's arguing with the family head, and we need to really have you come and talk to them. And that we'll go from there. And then the ministry head, if we cannot get resolved, then we'll call the guardian, and we'll go from there. However, if it is a legal issue, if it is something that is abuse, then you're going to skip all that, and you're going to call us immediately. Depending on the issue, we'll either call the parent or we'll call the authorities. We don't take these things lightly at all. I don't think you'd want us to. For your own protection, do not find yourself alone with any one participant, and be cautious in your affection. Come here, darling. I'm coming to hug you. And what would you do? I'm not your wife. Okay, so he's going to do a side hug. Nice side hug. Pat, open arm. All right? Careful in your affection. Careful in your affection so that no one can accuse you of anything. We just want to be careful. Looks like that's off the screen. Sorry. Be attentive. Most pedophiles don't wait until adulthood to begin preying on others. 1/3 of all sexual abuse in America's children is committed by other minors. So if you suspect that a child is picking upon another child in that way, you need to let us know immediately. You know, and we'll go and we'll look into it. Some of the signs you might look for, they may insist on physical affection. It may be inappropriate in playtime. They may treat a particular child as a favorite, or they may spend the most of their spare time with children. Those are just, that doesn't mean we go around accusing people. We just kind of put your radar up if you see somebody kind of hitting those. Our goal is not to be paranoid, but protective, to be loving and discerning, right? Okay, house rules. This is for Bethany. This is all those who will be in Bethany, be around Bethany, be at the home site. All right, stay in the common areas for free times. The girls All adults. The girls are not to be in the guys' area. The guys are not to be in the girls' area. All right, there are plenty common areas for them all to be together, play card games, have fun, talk, sing, do whatever. There's all kinds of areas there. They can be in the common areas. Just stay out of the opposite gender's room. They may talk, they have to go to bed at 11, but they may talk quietly after that. If they continue to disturb people, then they will be asked to go to sleep immediately. Family teams, that means the family heads, the assistant family heads, and the junior staff may stay up an extra hour, but they are to put themselves to bed by midnight. Okay? I do not want Dylan, who usually is our house manager over there, to have to tell me that he had to force any junior staff or assistant family head and tell them to go to bed. We're trusting you with the responsibility. We expect you to be adult enough to know how to read your watch and put your butt in bed. Gotcha? Okay. All right. Now, I've talked to you for quite a while. I'm going to let Kenan come up and talk to you. As we've gone on, this is year 9. Pretty awesome. That's a God moment. Everybody give God a hand. That's it. Whoop! Year 9. I just can't believe it. We have had increasing problems with children with emotional difficulties. They come from not quite the perfect families, or they may have had emotional trauma, all kinds of things like that. And that's pretty hard to deal with. Those of us who've had to live it, those of us who have seen it and seen other people have to live with it, it's difficult. And there are maybe better ways to handle them than what we would normally think. So we're going to have Kenan come and talk about those.
From an exhaustive list, but it's things to keep in mind, okay? Just a beginning things of when you start to see a situation become difficult in almost anybody, but especially someone that you may recognize, I don't know what's going on there, okay? Give them space. Just give them space. Somebody starts to get excited. They start to get, and they're starting, oh, I don't know. Okay. Okay. Just back up a little bit. If they're still agitated, even if you think that you're far enough back, just give them space. Give them time. How many years do you have? We don't know. How many years do we have? Thank you, Brian. And how many mouths? This is definitely the place where we're going to be using 2 of those and just, sometimes they may just need to talk. They just may need to be upset. They just need to let some things out. They just got to tell you about some things. They're just so bad, and they're going to, okay. 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 But is not a good word at that point in time. But, just wait. Let them get it out. Give them time. Give them space. Say as little as you possibly can. Head nods are good because it's just saying, I'm listening. I'm not necessarily agreeing. Understand those words. Thank you, Davey. But it's just, but I'm listening. I'm hearing you. I'm not giving permission. It's simply saying, I'm right here. I'm with you. Okay? We'll work through this. I hear you. I'm contacting with you. I'm tracking, all right? I don't know what else to do, so you just make sure that you love them. Love is patient. Love is kind. Love does not keep a record of wrongs. Love does not envy. I can go through the whole list. Love always protects. Love always hopes. When you don't know what else to do, love them. Love them. Well, the most loving thing I can do right now is to shut up. There's a time to teach, but right then may not be the time. Let's bring them back down. Let's get the words out. Let's let a lot of emotions get drained off. Let's wait. and wait and wait. Repeat. And replace. The whole replace thing is, I want to do something different than what you've seen that hasn't been working. Okay? If you can, somebody's on a rant, if you can at all, pull up a chair. Still engaged. Still wired in. Not pulling out your phone. If you pull out your phone, you better tell them what you're doing. I just want Cherie to join us a moment. Okay? I'm just looking where the 9 is on my phone so I can call 911. Probably not the best thing that you're going to be saying at that point in time. But let them know what you're doing, because if you just pull out your phone, well, you aren't even listening to me. I'm looking up the name of a medication. I'm looking up a resource. I'm doing something, whatever it is that's involving them, okay? If you ever pull out your phone, let them know, an upset person, let them know what you're doing. That way they're not judging or wondering, you're calling the cops, aren't you? You're going to make them, they're going to come, they're coming to take me away, haha. I'm not going to let them, I'm going to run away. Let them know what's going on. So if those things aren't working, especially, and you've tried, or if you're getting tired, it's okay to say, tag me out, I need help. And that's where you're saying, I'm just texting Ken in a minute, I'm texting Cherie, I'm letting Brian know. I'm doing something. Okay? Even if it's somebody else on site, that you can text somebody, if that's what you need to do. Or you may be able to say, I want you to hold that thought just a second. Jody! Okay, go right ahead. She'll come. All right? And then we can switch. All right? Never feel like it's yours to stay in. We get worn out. We may get over our heads. We may, do I have to listen to this again? That's not a good day. And if you recognize that early, I can't do this, I can't take this. Don't tell them that, but just say, I really appreciate that. But if you'll give me just a moment, I have to be someplace else, but I really want somebody to listen to what you have to say here. Jody, would you come and listen? You can tag out at any point in time. You just do it the right way, and it's still good and acceptable. Everybody with me? Q-tip. Anybody have a clue what that might mean besides Michael? It's besides cleaning your ears. Quit taking it personal. Did you know that 99% of the time, somebody that's treating you badly treats everybody else badly too? I can't believe I've done all these things for them. I can't believe that they just said that to me. Can you believe that and now who's it about? Instead of about, don't take it personal. Even if it is you, don't take it personal. Love doesn't keep a record of wrongs, does it? Don't take it personal. Afterwards, we can help you deal with it. We need to help you decompress. We need to help you unload and unwind. We need to help you be able to take that and leave it at the altar with Jesus, that He will take care of the situation and you don't have to carry the burden home. That's important. But realize their explosion, their anxiety, their irritation is not just about you. So please don't take it personal. You're standing there. Can I tell you the best thing that you can say? Oh, help me, Jesus. I probably wouldn't say that out loud. That's a good time to have that voice in your head. Help me, Lord. Help me to listen. Help me to love. May you speak through me. Works wonders.
Anything that came up that you would like to ask?
So do your camps get pretty intense here?
I think that would be assumption. No, I think as society continues to have difficulties, that we have experienced more and more kids that have really struggled. When the years ago, when both parents were more involved, but that is not always the case. And there's also a lot of abuse going on. So those kids may be carrying around being abused when they were a child, and there's all kinds of things that are difficulty. Ken and I have a question for you. Yes. The teenager that goes to Mary and tells Mary her story, and then goes to Maddie, and then goes to Emily, and then goes, just goes on over here. What do you do with the kid that just is using everybody in the room to try to tell their story?
When they get to you and you know that they've already talked to somebody else, or especially 2 or 3, one more time, listen. Okay, since you've talked with me about it, I don't think we need to tell anybody else, do we? This is your story, and it's a private story. You need to talk about it again, you come back to me, or I know that you spoke with Mary because you told me that, so you go back to her, but let's not tell the story to anybody else, okay? I'm sorry for your pain. I'm sorry for your hurt. I really wish that wouldn't have happened. But I don't know how everybody's going to take your story. And I just really want to keep it and protect you as much as we can. So let's just, if you need to talk about it again, why don't you come talk to me? Or talk to somebody else that you've already told, okay? I think that's just a better thing for you. We'll see what they do, but that's the best thing. That's what I think is the best way to handle that.
Read my mind.
219-869-9623. That's me. You get to an adult, we have to know that. If we were playing by the exact rules of the state of Indiana, you would grab the phone and you would call the 800 hotline in Indianapolis. We're going to wait until we see what's going on with that, and I'm not going to ask a 16-year-old to make that decision. But you get to an adult as quickly as you possibly can, especially junior staff. If somebody is saying that, we have to know. We have to deal with it. We have to deal with it as quickly as we possibly can. Okay? That's the best thing that we can do. And I have that phone number in order to call Indianapolis at any time that we have to. And they notify then people that need to be notified in order to check that out.
Kenan. Emily.
Emily. Yes, we will. Yes, we will. One more thing on Kenan's subject. If a participant tells you that they're struggling with something, let's use the illustration bulimia, things like that. You need to find out whether they're dealing with it right now. Were they struggling with bulimia and they've gotten treatment, or are they presently using, using the bathroom after every meal and that kind of thing. That's the kind of thing we need to know. If there's something that the kid tells you, there's some red lights that always immediately you need to call Kenan. A hint of sexual abuse or physical abuse at home and they've not told anybody. Always, 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 always take them seriously, and then we'll find out the truth later, whether or not it is. Those kind of things. A child that is cutting, which is a growing problem. A child that is bulimia, anorexic, things like that. We need to know immediately. Yes, sir. There's two things that you can guarantee a kid whenever they start talking. You can guarantee them if they're going to hurt themselves, you have to notify somebody. You can also guarantee if they're going to do something illegal, you have to notify somebody. Okay? So if somebody starts talking and you just want you to be able to tell them, look, there's a couple of things that if that has to happen. We're trying hopefully that it won't. We just know that it can. When children find listening ears and loving people, they tell usually true stories, but sometimes not. But simply tell them, hey, you're getting in an area, I just want you to know, and I'm glad to listen. But if you're going to hurt yourself, you're going to do something illegal, then I have to tell somebody. Okay? They're pregnant, you don't have to tell anybody. You can recommend that they tell mom, but that's not something that we have to get involved with at that point in time. But those other two things, definite. Okay? Using drugs, that gets messy, but we can deal with that. Emmett?
They're pregnant or using narcotics or drugs, shouldn't we inform the married?
Completely. Completely. Especially if they reveal that kind of a bulimia or other kinds of medical conditions, Emmett, that's exactly right. We need to let Mary know, hey, this person's pregnant. She just told me, and you may not, or make sure that she knows it. Hopefully they'll put that on a health form.
Yes, ma'am.
You pregnant? Are you pregnant?
Form of self-harm that not everyone is aware of is if you see someone with a rubber band on their wrist, not necessarily a hair tie, 'cause I know a lot of girls run around with hair ties on their wrist, but like an actual office rubber band, people will snap themselves,
Gotcha.
especially if their wrist is all messed.
Which means they're struggling. Yeah. On another note, just a thought that came to me. If a child tells you they're being abused at home, and even if they're your best friend's daughter, and it just seems totally unbelievable, at least let us know and let us look into it. I know many times that children, such as myself, tried to tell people, and nobody would listen. So make sure that you always listen and talk to Kenan. Okay? We're going to go on. Staff contract reminder. I just want to go over a couple things, and I'm going to read right off the screen. As a staff member or junior staff of Teen Mission, I realize that I am not just representing TMJC and my church, but I am representing the Lord Jesus Christ himself. I will, with all that is in me, attempt to remain positive, affirming, and full of grace in all situations, extending grace to teens and staff alike. I will try to remember that we all have much to learn from each other. No, I was tapping it. It was this one. It just didn't go. Okay, I'm sorry. I should have looked. All right. I will strive to love others as Christ loves me. This will be my goal. Everyone who meets me will know that I am Christ's disciple because of my love for others. You might recognize that as a scripture. We strive very hard that others would know this isn't just a nice project. This, as we say in our bylaws essentially, we are overtly Christian. Our goal, number one goal, is to reach others for Christ, whether they be a participant or the people we're helping. That's our number one goal. As I said earlier, our theme this year is Raised to Life. I encourage you to look up the song on YouTube. It's a beautiful song. We'll be singing it, called Raised to Life. It starts out with the gospel, and it goes on about how Christ offers life, not burden, but life and good life. And our verse for this year is, if you are a full-time staff member or otherwise, I strongly encourage you to memorize this. We'll be saying this every night. Is for freedom that Christ has set us free. Stand firm then, and do not let yourselves be burdened again by the yoke of slavery. Now, a lot of power in that verse, and I'm going to talk about that more in a minute. This is the evening order of worship. Remember, worship is at 8 o'clock every night, and that everyone is welcome. It is open to anyone who wants to come, whether they're involved with Teen Mission or not. We will crowd them in here. Yes, ma'am. Pardon? It's at 8, I believe. Yeah, yes. Okay, now I want to talk about some logistics. Those of you who have been before, we know that we've had some expansion here at Hope Community, so I just want to talk about parking to start with. Over here, this section here, you can park 24/7, not a problem. Out here, the little tiny, there's about 5 spots out here. I asked to just try to save those for the people that struggle with mobility. Whether they're handicapped, they're old, or they vary or not, they're having a bad day. We try to save that for people that struggle with that. Over here at night, you can park at night, but not during the day. All right? If this fills up and this fills up, you can park down the street and walk, but we cannot take up their parking during the day. He is so gracious, and he is letting us use his parking lot the rest of the time except when he's open. So during the daytime when he's open, do not use that parking lot. Yes, sir.
And there's also, really technically, you can park along 114.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, ma'am. 5. 5, it looks like. So in the evening, you're fine. Yes, yes. All right, we're going to talk about opening night. As I said, we're going to have this door locked. They're going to come in over here, and they're going to go through a series of tables that will get them ready, and then we'll end up in this room. I will go through details here in a second, but we're going to make sure they got everything done. The number one thing we do is we make sure they got their contract and their health forms and everything before their parents take off, and we have to chase them down, all right? So we go through a series to make sure they've got everything and that they don't need to call mom and dad for later. Then we have an opening, the junior staff skit, orientation. We talk about the theme, the charge, worship, and then eventually they go to bed. All right? Yes, Davey's favorite part. Okay, here's my plan for how we're going to check in. Follow me if you will. Top, almost middle corner, you'll see a table that says junior staff. That will be a table and a tent where the junior staff will be set up. They will collect and separate the kids' paperwork from their bags. They will send the kids inside with their paperwork and any donations they have for the community day. Then the junior staff will bag up their stuff, walk it outside, way over there to the truck where it will be loaded and taken to Bethany. Okay? The luggage won't even come in the door. It will just literally go out and right out into the luggage. We're going to put them in big bags. We're going to put their name on them. So we'll take those bags and take them to Bethany. They find their bag. They set up their bed. Everything's set. Okay? In the meantime, the kid comes in the door. The teen drops off their collections over on, let's see, what direction would that be, honey? South. Thank you. I'm sorry, I'm directionally challenged. What can I tell you? All right. And then you'll see table 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, then little tiny 6 is this office here, and this is 7. So they'll stop, they'll get their contract, they'll turn in their electronics, then they'll give their health and their med forms and all their meds to the nurses. Nurses will go over that with them. Then we'll get their t-shirt info because we have to turn t-shirt sizes in first thing Monday morning, so we got to make sure we've got that ready to go. Pardon? Just a sec. Then we'll go to folder, and they'll get their pen. They'll get their new bottle. These are really cool. Put it. Hang on. I dropped it! I'm sorry. Yes, I'm really coordinated too. All right, isn't this cool? You'll never guess made these. Did anybody have a bottle? I should have brought a bottle with me. Somebody get me a bottle. You got one of our bottles? Here we go. These are very cool. So these pop right on their bottle. Now, this seems a little silly, right? But what we found out were years for, the kids would drink about this much of the water, and then they couldn't identify whose bottle it was, and we were greatly contributing to that mountain of plastic in the ocean and wasting a lot of water. All right? So what we did was we created these little things. I'll give you back your Coke. This bottle's a little bigger, so I was being careful. It also comes with a little clip. He is going to mark them with their initials so they can carry that with them, whether they have a bottle or not, hook it on their belt clip, and they're ready to go. Isn't that very cool? I thought it was very cool. All right, so they'll get their little bottle cap, and then by this time they've gone and table 1 is checked off, table 2 is checked off, and they go all the way to table 6, and when their ticket is all checked off, then they can enter the worship area. Everything's taken care of. They don't have a care in the world for the rest of the week. They've got everything they need, Lord willing. Okay? Now, Brian, you were going to talk to us about T-shirts. Yes, go for it.
All right, especially skilled health, typically, everybody who participates gets a T-shirt. Now, there is a cost to the T-shirt.
We are recording, so.
There is a cost to the T-shirt. If you are willing to donate that and do not get a T-shirt, let me know. Okay? So if you're saying, hey, I want to save Team Mission $15 this year and put it towards next year, let us know. Family heads, junior leaders, everybody, I need to know either tonight or Saturday. Again, we need to know your sizes, okay? So before you leave, either see Cherie, we got to write it down, or again, I got a spreadsheet, I can get it plugged in. So anyway, if you are willing to donate your T-shirt back, let us know.
T-shirts are a little over $10 this year. If you don't think you'll wear it, what we found is we were giving them to people. Now you get them if you have worked a full day at least. You've given us a full day's work, then we're going to give you a T-shirt. Unless you just don't feel like you're going to wear it, then we'll count it as a donation. So just let us know on that. All right, and this is where my heart is. Here are the subjects that we'll be talking about. And I pulled this, I felt like the Holy Spirit led me to pull this directly from the song. Miriam had suggested this song, and I pray over the theme. I pray and pray and pray and pray and pray. And I listened to this song, and immediately the Holy Spirit said, that's it. This song starts out giving the gospel, which is, a great thing. And Darren Schultz will be talking then. And then it talks about Raised to Life by Paul Conley will be talking. We are called to life, but what does that mean? Wednesday night, am I a Christian atheist? That means I believe in God, but I don't live like he exists. And that's Isabella Peshua from The Bridge. What am I willing to trade for Christ? Caleb Voss will be speaking on from Burr Oak. And The Courageous, Kenan Smith from Hope Community. And this, I like what it said here, we are called to extremes, new avenues, new ideas, to think beyond the nominal, the mundane, the usual, and the done before. And so I feel strongly that the Holy Spirit is going to work very mightily this year, unusually mightily. I would like us to pray together in a minute. It's the most powerful thing we can do, because we are praying for our community, not just for the participants. And Kenan's going to talk a little bit about the effect by one of our young men that shared, that used to work for Teen Mission. And we'll let him share on that. But after that, we're going to separate into 5 groups, and then we're going to each pray about one of these. That the kids that hear the gospel for the first time, or the second time, or the 20th time, or the 300th time, this will be the time that they will turn to Christ as Savior. That the kid that feels like, oh, a Christian life, don't tell me about it, that they see that there is life in Jesus Christ, a wonderful life in Jesus Christ. So I'm going to pray about each one of these in a minute, but I'm going to let Kenan come forward, and he's going to talk about what God has done already. We're almost done.
Last year, Paul introduced the words of Teen Mission. It's a big deal, and he made a big deal out of talking about how big a deal the Teen Mission is. We continue to find ways that just continues to be true so much. So I want you to have this picture. A few years ago when all of this started, while we had teenagers that were just turning teenagers, and then they grew a year, and then another year, and then another year, and then they were leaders, and then they went to college, and then they went away. And the people have gone through Teen Mission several years, but then they can't come and be here this year because they're doing it someplace else. 2 of them were talking the other night, okay? And the cool part was that the older one was being taught by the younger one because he had taught the younger one how to do a mission trip because we had taught him how to do a mission trip. But here's what our friend Roger and Aaliyah say. I just wanted to share something that kind of how crazy is that, huh? How crazy is it that we were both in Lewiston, Maine at the same time? It wasn't where Aaliyah wanted to go. Wasn't her first choice. But it's where God wanted her and where God put her. And just looking back at the effect that Teen Mission has had on more than just Rensselaer. The student leaders of Teen Mission have gone to Haiti, Maine, Alaska, Puerto Rico, Houston, Indonesia, Southeast Asia, Central Asia, Africa, and probably even some other places that we haven't mentioned or named here tonight. So not only are they being the hands and feet of Jesus in both of our town, but in other communities. I don't know if any of us who have been to those places would have ever thought that would be possible had we not experienced God through Teen Mission and seen what missions really were about. So just some encouragement in going into that crazy week and the ongoing crazy year that is Teen Mission. Wish I could be there. Roger. I've read that 6 times and I haven't cried until then. It's just a cool thought. It's not just about us, like we thought that it might be, but where it goes and what it's doing for the kingdom of God. That's why. Not even for us and the people, but for the kingdom of God. Where He leads, may we go.
You know, it would be easy for people to think that in something like that, that we're just promoting Teen Mission. No, we're not. We're promoting God, what He's doing. To me, it says that the little things that you do for me matter. The little things that you didn't think would be anything. 6 kids in my dining room. That's all it was. 6 kids in my dining room. And God has done this, not Teen Mission. We just get to be a part. And we get to continue being a part. And Ignited gets to be a part, and the Bridge gets to be a part, and Hope Community, and Burr Oak, and all the other churches, they get to be a part of what God is doing in Jasper County. The Lord showed me a vision years ago of little lights lighting up all over Jasper County. It wasn't a big light. It wasn't huge lights. I think of it like lightning bugs. You know, just those little lights. But they stayed on. And then another one. And then another one. And then another one. Until the sky was lit with light. I think that's what we're doing. We're just shining a little light. And you're shining a little light. And you're shining a little light. Until the sky one day will light up. So I'm going to ask us to do the most powerful thing we can do. And that's pray. I'm going to ask this group over here to take the first one, the gospel. I want you to pray for salvations. That people come to know Jesus Christ as Savior and Lord of their lives. All right? We're going to take this group up here, Dave, and this group, and you're going to be number 2. And you're going to be praying about Raised to Life. Pray that teens would be drawn to the real life offered in Christ. You know, so often they're drawn to all the pretty little other things that lead to death. We want you to pray that they're drawn to life, real life. Number 3, excuse me. I can't see because I'm crying. Am I a Christian atheist? Pray that the teens would reflect upon their walk and determine to live what they say they believe. Tammy, your group right here. Right here. Okay? What am I willing to trade for Christ? This one, wow. Caleb, I'm going to have your group back there, that row, and you guys back there. Pray that Christ becomes dear to them, more dear than life or pleasures of this world. Thank you. Sorry, blind is bad on that side. As I told our group at the beginning, is that it seems like in our whole life, we have to grab onto Christ. We have to choose. Will I choose Christ or will I choose this? Will I choose Christ or will I choose the sin? Will I choose Christ or will I put something else in his place? That's what we're praying for those kids, that they choose Christ. And finally, over here, I'm going to join you, Amy, and these 4. The courageous. Pray that all of us would be empowered by the Spirit to live a supernaturally courageous life. I have no idea what that will look like because everybody's will look different. That we will live whatever God asks us to do, we will do it with all our heart and all our soul. So I'm going to ask us to break up. What time is it here? We are going to pray for 15 minutes. All right? And that's how we're going to end this. And then I'll have 2 more things to say, and we'll be done for the night. But please, break up now and spend some time in prayer.